want to take his face off. God, I love this movie, and welcome to Cinema Recaps. That's right, guys. Today, we're recapping Face Off. Strap in and get ready for some spoilers ahead. We first see a merry-go-round, a father and a son riding some horses. Immediately after, a man dramatically pulls back a cloth, revealing a sniper underneath. The mysterious man throws that cloth away, kneeling beside the weapon. We see what he sees, the father and son enjoying themselves on that merry-go-round. The mysterious man sips from his drink, completely calm before taking the shot. He aims and pulls the trigger, shooting the father in the back. The father, still holding the son, falls from the horse, blood visible on its white neck. The father crawls over to his son, who appears to be dead. The bullet went straight through him, injuring his son as well. With the father trembling, he holds his son, grieving. 6 years pass, and we see that father, whose name is Sean Archer, an FBI special agent, continuing to pursue his son's killer, who has been identified on the police database as Castor Troy.
We got 10 minutes to go.
Alongside him are some other names in that database, such as Alfred Evans, the Croatian ambassador who was assassinated in Berlin, and Leon Katz, who died in a car bombing. Archer asks if there's any word from LAPD intelligence, and he's told that there isn't. He then complains that their team is so secret that no one takes him seriously.
Of course not.
He's told by another to ease up a bit, but refuses, saying they can all take a break when the case is solved. Elsewhere, the assassin who shot Archer 6 years ago successfully plants a bomb. Disguised as a man of God, he begins to, dance to the voices of the choir singing hallelujah. One of the women in the choir drops her book and he comes up behind her, talking to her, telling her how lovely her voice is before grabbing her ass and singing hallelujah. Troy later meets with his younger brother and accomplice named Pollux. They're at a remote location in the desert, an airstrip. Troy gets out of his car, dramatically. Someone takes off his coat and we see some gold pistols that he was hiding. Pollux tells him that he's late as Troy switches the shades.
26 minutes late.
The two brothers get on the plane, Troy declaring that he's bored and they should all hurry up. The stewardess offers him a drink and asks if there's anything else he needs. He asks her to sit on his lap. As the plane prepares to take off, the pilot says there's someone on the runway, and by someone, he means cop cars with blaring sirens. Troy throws the woman off his lap and the plane's surrounded. He goes to the cockpit, seeing Archer on the runway driving towards the plane. The stewardess pulls out a gun, aiming at Troy and identifying herself as FBI. FBI! Pollux begins to fight her and Troy threatens the pilot to continue flying. Archer continues to drive towards that plane, veering off to the side at the last moment, turning and continuing to pursue the plane from behind. Troy opens the door, holding the stewardess out. He asks sarcastically if she's one of his, and then pops her in the back and throws her off the plane. Troy shrugs casually, and Archer pulls over his vehicle. Rushing to the stewardess, lying now still on the landing strip, bleeding out. Archer gets in the helicopter instead, as his partner kneels beside the stewardess. He takes off, making after the plane, determined to catch Troy. But before that pilot can lift the plane off the ground, Archer lands the chopper on the wing of the plane. Troy shoots at the front of the helicopter, but Archer ducks out the way.
Take off now!
Archer maneuvers the helicopter around to the side of the plane and shoots into the propellers, causing him to explode as a fire breaks out. Inside the cockpit, Troy casually points his gun at the pilot and asks him, "What the is he doing?" The pilot says the engine's out and they have to stop. Well, Troy shoots him and takes over the plane himself, doing all sorts of crazy moves as an alarm goes off. He crashes the plane into a building and is trapped by police. Still, refusing to go down without a fight, decides to leap dramatically out that plane while sparks fly behind him. A gunfight ensues. Lots of people are shot, some fatally, and Pollux is thrown on the ground and cuffed. Troy hides, reloading his gun. Archer and Troy exchange gunfire. Sparks fly everywhere. Archer manages to get up behind Troy, grabbing him, but Troy laughs, telling him Archer better shoot him because he only has one bullet left.
Because you only got one bullet left.
But so does Troy, or so he thinks. They begin a circle, guns raised and aimed at each other. Troy asks Archer if he's having any fun, and offers him to join him, because blowing stuff up is more fun. He then begins to mock him before pulling the trigger, but the gun's empty. Troy then gets on his knees, asking not to be shot and pretending to be scared and crying, before laughing and telling Archer to pull the trigger, saying that he's ready. Troy tries to catch him off guard, lunging at him with a knife, but he's quickly disarmed and kicked back. Troy flies down a tunnel and is knocked unconscious. Finally, he's successfully captured. Archer gets home to find his wife and daughter arguing. His daughter was suspended from school for starting a fight. The moody teen storms off and Archer tells his wife, named Eve, that he caught Troy and that it's over.
I got him, Eve.
And Archer tells her that he'll do anything she wants. Get a desk job, go to therapy, anything. She tells him she only wants him. When Archer appears at work the next day, he's given a round of applause, which he rejects, instead choosing to honor those who died before walking away. He goes into the office looking at the picture of his son on file. The case is finally closed, but there's a new one about to start. Archer is given a floppy disk, something retrieved from Pollux' case. On it are plans and details of the bomb Troy planted earlier. It's really big, and really bad if it's not deactivated. It's gonna kill a bunch of people, not only in the initial blast, but in the fallout too.
Where's Pollux, Troy?
Pollux is interrogated, but refuses to answer, demanding to see his brother. Archer storms away angry. His request to evacuate the city is denied, and Pollux will only talk to his brother. Archer and the female officer Hollis visit Troy at the place he's being kept. He's in a coma. Hollis reassures Archer that Troy is a turnip, her words. She suggests that Archer can pretend to be Troy in order to get Pollux to talk, but Archer has no idea what she's talking about. Archer's then introduced to Dr. Malcolm Walsh, who explains some of what he can do. They move to the next room, seeing one of the officers who lost his ear during the shootout with Troy and starts to receive a new one using advanced medical science technology stuff. The doctor explains that Archer and Troy can basically swap faces. And Hollis adds to this, saying that the process is completely reversible. Archer is reluctant, but Hollis tells him that he knows Troy best, having pursued him for years, and that no one else can do it.
You think that I want to do this?
Archer tries other means first, by interrogation, using threats and police brutality. The best he gets is a date, the 18th.
Yeah, I heard something about the 18th.
But only Pollux knows where the bomb is. Archer considers the face swap again, but it would all have to be done in secret, not even with his wife knowing. Out of desperation, Archer agrees to this procedure.
I'll do it.
That night he talks with Eve, and Archer tells her that he has one last job to do. She's a bit upset, but tells him to go, and so he leaves his family. Archer returns to the doctor's facility, and before the procedure takes place, he asks the doctor to put him back just as he was before, including that scar that he got from the bullet wound, saying that it means a lot to him. The doctor agrees. Archer takes off his wedding ring and follows the doctor to the next room to begin the operation. The two are brought together in the operating room and the procedure begins. The operation's a success, and when Archer wakes up, he sees the results in the mirror. He's now looking at Troy and not himself. Archer begins to shout and swear in confusion, but is calmed by the doctor. He's asking the doctor to burn Troy's face when this is all over. Archer has his voice changed to match Troy's.
I could eat a peach for hours.
And Hollis tells him that there's 6 days left to the 18th and the clock is ticking. So is that bomb. Archer, now with Troy's face, is taken to a super secret prison where he's given special boots that track his movement and location. He gets a lot of strange looks as he enters the general population and is spotted by Pollux from across the room. But before he can reach Pollux, there's a fight that breaks out, and Archer, pretending to be Troy, beats up some guys acting like the crazy caster Troy, crazy eyes and all. The fight's broken up by the prison guards who finally reach him, and Archer gets zapped. When Archer's finally able to talk to Pollux, Pollux begins to question him, asking him things that Troy would know, like what was the name of his medication.
What was my medication?
Archer stalls for a bit before remembering, but he says that because he was in a coma, there's a lot that he can't remember. Pollux begins to relax, and Archer asks him about the bomb, and Pollux reveals the location. Archer then walks away. Meanwhile, back at Walsh's facility, Troy suddenly wakes up from his coma, sitting up abruptly. He touches his face, realizing he doesn't have one. In the next room, he sees Archer's face in a jar, and now understands what has happened. Troy makes a strangled phone call to someone explaining what has happened, but he says that the situation's cool, and that he's gonna deal with it.
We're gonna deal with it.
Before wheezing and laughing maniacally, the doctor's dragged to the facility by some of Troy's cronies, and meets with Troy, faceless and pumped full of painkillers. Well, Troy's mad, and demands that he be fixed. As soon as he is, he goes to visit none other than Archer in prison. Archer looks back at his own face, shocked, while Troy relishes in the moment. Troy tells Archer how good looking he is. Troy then shows Archer the newspaper he brought with him, telling Archer that he killed the doctor and burnt the institute. Troy then goes on to say that he torched all the evidence that proves who they really are, including the police officers involved. Archer's horrified to see his own wedding ring on Troy's finger. Troy teases him, saying that he'll be in prison for the next 100 years. years.
The next 100 years!
And that he has to get to his government job. He then kisses his own face and Archer strangles him. Troy doesn't resist but waits for the guards who come in and throw Archer to the floor. Troy leaves, heading to Archer's home, calling the neighborhood hell, before meeting his wife and acting strange. Troy then enters Archer's home looking around at family photos and journals. He then meets Archer's daughter and starts acting weird, smoking in front of her and telling her that there's going to be some changes before leaving. In prison, Archer learns that Pollux is being released, thanks to Troy. Archer tries to tell the guard the truth, but it's hopeless. Pollux now knows the truth about the face swap, and talks to his brother in the interrogation room while enjoying a sandwich. Troy tells Pollux his new plan, to get straight. He tells Pollux that he should confess to the location of the bomb, but Troy says that he'll become a hero for defusing the bomb. There's less than a minute to go on that bomb, but the bomb's protected by a tamper switch, and it will take hours to bypass.
And it'll take us hours to bypass.
Troy tells the team to evacuate, and once he's alone, he defuses it himself, and hailed a hero. Archer sees this on the prison TV as Troy addresses him directly, mocking him again. Back in his cell, Archer begins to lose his mind, wanting more than anything to have his own face back. Troy then learns that Archer has been killed trying to escape the prison. He's asking where the body is, and is told that the body hasn't been recovered, but Troy doesn't believe that Archer's dead. Soon enough, the two end up on a call together, where Troy introduces himself as Sean Archer. Archer then says that he must be Caster Troy, before hanging up.
I guess I'm Caster Troy.
Archer then retreats to Troy's headquarters, where he meets Troy's gang. Archer's asked if Troy wants to leave the country, but he replies instead that he wants to get Archer, with help from Troy's friends. None of them know about the face-off procedure. As far as any of them know, this is the real Troy they're talking to. Now Archer, acting as Troy, suggests attacking Archer, actually Troy, in his home, saying he knows the code to his house alarm, the date of his dead son's birthday. One of them asks how he knows so much about Sean Archer, and Archer, acting as Troy, replies that he sleeps with his wife. Archer then says he needs to leave to go to the little boy's wee-wee room, his words, where he starts to make faces in the mirror. He turns to see a woman standing behind him. She says that she thought he was dead, before slapping him.
Thought you were dead.
Archer falls over. He later wakes up in bed, where the woman, named Sasha, begins to kiss him. Pollux is watching from the outside. He calls his brother and tells him that Archer is enjoying his life, but Troy doesn't care. Sasha tells Troy Archer that they have to part ways, and that if the FBI find them together, they're gonna take her son. Before he has a chance to leave, Archer meets Sasha's son, who's around 5 years old. Troy's the father. Then the house is lit up in a hail of bullets, and Archer moves to protect Sasha and the son. A gunfight ensues and Archer tries to escape. Sasha fires off some rounds while the real Troy outside laughs at the chaos. The boy's taken to safety wearing headphones with music playing, so he's not hearing the gunfire, as downstairs people are just shot and killed. Archer and Troy find themselves in another shoot-off. At one point, they're speaking to one another, each protected from the other by a wall. Troy suggests that they trade places again, wanting to go back to his own life. But Archer says that he can't get back what Troy took from him, his son. Troy sighs and says that he'll have to resort to plan B, which is kill each other.
Let's just kill each other.
They each face their reflections in the mirror and fire, before the mirror is toppled and Archer makes a break for it, heading to the roof where he meets Pollux. Archer kicks Pollux into the glass roof, causing him to plummet to his death, landing beside Troy. Troy starts to grieve over his brother, tying his shoe, before standing and walking away. The raid at the headquarters has turned into a bloodbath, and back at the police station, Troy, acting as Archer, attacks the supervisor, who blames Archer for the numerous deaths. Troy admits his true identity before killing the supervisor and making it look like a heart attack. He then casually calls for a paramedic. While elsewhere, Archer finally comes home. Eve enters the room, turning to see what she perceives to be a strange man in their house. Archer begs for her and tries to explain the situation to her, talking about the face swap and his time in prison and how Troy came out of his coma. Well, she's terrified, struggling to process everything. Archer leaves again, but not before taking a picture of his son, saying to Eve he knows she doesn't believe him, but to test the blood of the man she thinks is her husband.
My Sean's blood type is O negative.
Eve is now scared of the man she thought was her husband. Troy as Archer tells Eve that he read her diary, casually adding that his mentor Lazaro, the man he killed, died that day at the office. Suspicious now, Eve takes a sample of his blood as he's sleeping, looking at it through a microscope at the hospital where she works. Well, she's shocked to find the blood type doesn't match her husband's, and Archer, with Troy's face, makes himself known. He says he knew she would come here and thanks her for trusting him, but Eve instead points a gun at him, saying she doesn't trust anybody.
I don't trust anyone.
Archer then talks about his past, and their date together so long ago, and their first kiss. Well, she finally accepts him, but is horrified that she's been living with a stranger for a week. He apologizes to her, saying that he put her in that situation, and Eve tends to his wound, while Archer gives Eve more details about what has been happening. Archer's able to leave before Troy finds him at the hospital. Eve asks what he's doing, acting if she hasn't just learned the truth.
Sean, what are you doing here?
And Troy replies he gets jealous, saying that he was worried when she left in the middle of the night. But Eve explains that she's a doctor on call and left for work. Troy leaves, and Archer, acting as Troy, prepares to trap Troy acting as Archer. Meanwhile, Eve and the pretend Archer head to Lazaro's funeral. During the funeral, Archer, the real Archer, steps into the church, lighting a candle to pay his respects, then gives the choir boy a picture of his son that Troy killed, asking the boy to give it to the man posing as Archer. Actually, Troy. Well, Troy realizes Archer's here, scrunches up that photo, drops it. Once the church is all empty, Archer enters, bowing before Christ on the cross. Troy appears behind him, threatening his wife with a gun, and also his daughter, who was brought to the church.
Your daughter's on the way.
Troy says that killing his son was an accident, and that he was trying to kill Archer. Sarah then appears and points a gun at Troy, thinking it's Archer because of the face. More people arrive, with more guns, and everyone is just confused. Guns fire. Eve hits someone with a chair, and doves are flying around. The dying Sarah asks Archer who she thinks is Troy to take care of their son, asking for him not to grow up to be like them. The gunfight continues, and Archer's daughter, now at the church, runs around confused as Troy and Archer continue to fight. The daughter ends up pointing a gun at both of them. It's not clear who she was aiming for, as her aim was so off, but she hits that man who looks like Troy, which is her real father. Troy, who she thought was her father, now grabs her and points the gun at her, saying how his own daughter would never shoot so wide. The daughter stabs him and Troy hobbles away. More gunfighting, more chasing, more stuff exploding, and damn, these guys just can't seem to hit each other. They now chase each other on speedboats, a flying ship on fire, more explosions. Gotta love Wu. The two men up on the same boat and they fight some more. The boat eventually crashes and the boat goes flying. The men go flying and there's another explosion. The two continue to fight on land. The fight comes to an end with Archer victorious as Troy, the real Troy, is shot with a harpoon. Police arrive and Archer is recognized. They address him by name. Archer is put in the back of an ambulance alongside the now deceased Troy. He gets his wedding ring back and the two are returned so the procedure can be reversed. Archer finally returns to his wife as his old self once again. The two embrace and then his daughter runs up to hug him. The family adopt Adam, the son of Sarah, keeping his promise to her. And now our family is complete once again. Thanks for chilling with us on our recap of Face Off. Hope you enjoyed it. It was released back in 1997, directed by John Woo. I'm gonna go eat a peach for hours, and you guys have an awesome day.